My way, or the highway, and in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Gallop Out final show of 2025. Jackson's with me, as he always is, laughing as to what I only assume is the typical mixto in the intro video, because that always seems to crack you up. But Jackson, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Fun weekend into opening day. It's good seeing you as always. Wish the betting had gone a little better, but you know what? Sometimes Bob Baffert at 1-5 isn't going to win, and it's going to cost you a lot of money to contest, and that's going to happen every now and then. But other than that, it was great time, a lot of good racing, and looking forward to the next big day.
No doubt, Jackson managed to bet the only Baffert that did not win on the opening day card. That was brutal, and it wasn't even close, so I don't even feel bad talking about it, because I also bet that horse because I heard you were playing that double, and I was like, you know what, I got to tail my boy real quick. I regret that decision entirely. So anyway, Santa Anita, they're back racing tomorrow. They go Wednesday through Sunday this week. Pretty good for a Wednesday of racing here in the winter. Additionally, Aqueduct has an 8-race program tomorrow for a Wednesday in winter. That's not bad at all for New Year's Eve. But the country's going to be focused on one sequence and one sequence only, at least it should be, and that is the $63,000 carryover in the late pick 5 at Tampa Bay Downs. We're going to go over that sequence with you all today, but joining us is the racetrack announcer from Tampa Bay. He also announces at Colonial, and he hosts the Beamy Awards every year. It is Jason Beem. Jason, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. Good to be with you.
Good to have you. We were talking a little bit on the pre-show, but how's Tampa season going so far?
Everything's been good. We've had, knock on wood, good weather, and the entry box has been full. I mentioned we had a equine herpes outbreak, which we pushed a few. We were supposed to start Sundays last week, but we decided to wait till the new year to start Sundays, just to because obviously the field size was going to be a little bit thinned out. But seems that's all remedied now, and the barns where that was at are back running. So I guess everything is kind of good in that order. But no, it's a great place to run in the winter. It's good racing. It's been really competitive, and obviously was tough for everybody to get last Saturday because we have this big carryover coming into Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. The racing always has full fields that we go through, and you mentioned it's pretty tough to hit, as nobody managed to hit. I think it was it the early pick 5 that nobody hit, or was it the late?
No, it was the late. In fact, the early one never carries, which I brought up to management before. Like, we should carry that one if it does, but I don't know that the early one's ever paid out 4 out of 5 since I've been here. Obviously, usually if we do have smaller fields, they're in the first couple races, but no, it was there was a couple goofy results. I know the early one paid big on Saturday, but there were some goofy results late, and sure enough, carryover.
Yeah, I remember there's some high priced winners there in the early, so I wasn't sure which one carried, because you also had something like an 80-1 shot in the late sequence. So there were prices to be found, and that's what you get. This late pick 5 has 52 entered runners into the main body of the field, so more than 10 per race. So we'll get into it. Jason, you won't have a pick 5 ticket, but we're going to ask your opinions as we go through this sequence. Yep. Jackson, you and I have pick 5 tickets, and I'm going to put those down on the bottom banner to just scroll as we talk through this sequence. A couple different approaches here. I went pretty spready early and then kind of narrowed on some stronger opinions late. Jackson, you're pretty skinny no matter what. You're no deeper than 3 with a couple of good singles in there. But Jason, we're going to kick things off with a 2-year-old optional claiming event going a mile on the lawn coming out of the turf chute. With the rails being out a little bit this weekend, let me get the exact, this is 12 feet. How do you notice the turf course plays, and does the coming out of the chute make any sort of difference to you in terms of where you want to be drawn?
Coming out of the chute for sure, because it is a really quick run before they straighten out, and then they immediately go into the first turn. And early in the meet, the riders were I would say, too aggressive in terms of crossing over from the outside. We had a lot of races where there was a lot of checking going on and kind of fighting for position, and it was just getting real tight. I think that there was a couple inquiries. I think the stewards had a talk with them and said, come on, let's be good to one another. And so it seems like that's toned down a little bit. The real question mark for the turf, I think, is going to be the cold. Now, I know people are going to scowl at me, but it's cold here for us, and it's supposed to be cold tomorrow. So I think we've not really had any cold weather here yet this season. So if anything maybe changes how the course is played or the profiles or anything, that might be the thing to kind of watch for. And unfortunately, we don't have a turf race on the undercard in terms of before race 5. So that'll be a bit of a question mark. But to me, the big question in this race is the speed is going to come from the inside and the very, very outside. And that horse Distinct, that was the Wesley Ward firster last time out, who debuted for 16 and looked like a beast. I mean, never looked a danger the whole way. Like you watch that horse down the backstretch, you're just like, nobody's beating this thing. Kind of won as he pleased. Got claimed by a barn that's had a pretty nice start here. Jose Gallegos, I believe it is. And they do switch riders, I noticed, but it's Sammy Camacho, so they're getting one of our leading guys. But I think that horse is, to me, the question mark just in terms of class. You think back like Maximum Security, who debuted for 16,000 and was obviously much better than that. But I'm wondering if the pace maybe boils over a little bit with the 1 and the 3 in here. I thought the 3, it was so strange to see Ferris Allen entered here. He runs at Colonial all summer, but kind of a Maryland-based trainer who I don't recall seeing at Tampa since I've been here. I might be wrong on that. But that horse and then the Rail horse, both coming off of gate to wire wins, especially with their inside position, because the 10 will have to clear. If you don't clear by the time you turn into the stretch, those inside spots, it's like they almost just jump forward because they immediately start running straight while you're still turning. So a real big advantage to be inside if you get position. If you don't, you get buried and you're screwed.
That's good insight for coming out of the turf shoot. Jackson, we'll go to you. We'll keep the conversation to the far outside in the number 10 Distinct. I imagine this horse is on your ticket because you want this horse to cross and clear early and take them all the way just like he did in the debut.
Probably. We don't know if he can close yet, but these are usually types I'm trying to beat, the ones that get the really easy leads on soft paces. But I will say, if you are going to get that, I want to see a horse open up late, which he did do. I don't want to see him, barely hanging on after having everything your own way. He did pull away from that field late, which is a good sign. So class test for sure, tough post, but it does seem like he could be the best horse just based on the numbers. So he feels like a must use. And as Jason kind of alluded to, it seems like there's a lot of speed buried on the inside. The 1 and the 3 talked about. But even the 2 and the 4 are also very quick as well. The 2 stretching out from sprints, and the 4's been quick in the past. He got shut off last time early in the race. Before that, he was always up on the pace, especially going the 2 turns. So I'm hoping this pace is fast up front. Hopefully the 10 can get forward. But I also want to use the 8 and the 9 at some prices. I think both of them deserve a look in here. The 8 hasn't been seen since September, but 52 buyer in September for a 2-year-old is not too shabby, especially for a maiden claimer. Got to assume he's taken some kind of step forward since then. Turf is a question mark, but he's been working on the grass. They've been trying to get him the grass. Both times got washed off. So I would imagine he'll be okay on the surface. And then the 9 at a big price. I mean, I know she, Philly against the boys in here, got a complete setup last time, but I don't think it's impossible that she gets a setup in here as well with all the speed signed on towards the inside. So going to spread a little bit, 8, 9, 10 in here and hope the pace heats up and hope to get one of these closers home.
Yeah, I like it. As you can see, I went pretty deep in my pick 5 here. I didn't have any super strong opinions, but if I had to have a top pick, it was also the number 8, Deep Star. Jose D'Angelo, obviously very sharp start to the Tampa meet, being 3 for 5 from a limited sample size, but he also runs a lot of his runners down at Gulfstream Park. They don't card a lot of these races over there this time of year. So coming out here with this 2-year-old makes a lot of sense. You're facing a company that I think is on par with the maiden 35 he ran against last time. Not to mention, he's been trying to get this horse on the turf 2 straight efforts now, was unsuccessful, comes out here. It looks like we'll be on the grass tomorrow at Tampa. So I do think Deep Star is kind of the horse I like. I like that close that he showed in that last race when breaking the maiden by 4. I'm with you, though, Jackson. The pace could be really hot, or it could be one of those races where a horse is kind of the speed of the speed, gets out to that lead, and everybody else is kind of content to sit in behind. So I went very deep to start off here. Jason, before we move on to the next, did you have any opinions in here for horses that you want to give a closer look to?
Yeah, the D'Angelo horse obviously is one I think a lot of people will take a look at. I saw Ryan. I think you had the 5 horse in yours, the Joe Orsino runner, coming over. Kind of put it together last time, and Orsino is just a barn that does kind of good everywhere, but especially here, just seems to really fare pretty well. And lands our leading rider, which is something I can always take note. Samuel Marin and Sammy Camacho have the same agent, and sometimes it's kind of interesting to see who pops up where. We'll have that discussion in the 7th race as well, but I think this is one that might be able to jump forward. Orsino horses just tend to run well up here. It's Gulfstream is tougher than here.
Yeah, but that doesn't take anything away from the competitive field sizes here at Tampa. But you do get the odd monsters that'll show up at Gulfstream Park for in a race like this that makes it almost not even.
Yeah, this race to me does not. I mean, I thought it was. You could make a lot of cases in this one. The Orsino horse I feel like might end up being the forgotten one because I do think a lot of folks might go to the D'Angelo after the 10 horse.
I'm with you. I think this Justin Smiles, the Orsino horse with Sammy Marin, it certainly deserves a closer look. We'll move on to the second leg, which is going to be a 7-furlong 2-year-old for the fillies maiden special weight event on the main track. I'm going deep once again. I'm going 1, 4, 5, 7, and 8. Jackson, though, is singling the 2. So, Jackson, we will start with your opinion. Permian Basin coming out of a race with the number 3 Duchess Eleanor, and I believe a handful of others in this race as well. What did you like about this horse enough to single her? Excuse me.
Yeah, I think there's 5 horses coming out of that same common race on December 6th, and went back and watched it, and she missed the break, and then she just made this wide, sustained bid throughout the entire race, and I kept waiting for her to kind of falter and lose momentum, and that just didn't really happen. And I just kept on, and I don't know, no one passed her. I thought she had a tough going of it, and now she's making her 3rd career start here. She needs the break. She needs to break better than she has in both her races. But if she does break, I mean, she just beat all these without breaking. So if she can break in here, I think she'll be effective. The question mark for me was the unknowns. There's a couple first-time starters in here that we don't know anything about, and fortunately, we have our friend Will Humphrey who works for Graham Motion. So I texted him about the 8, and he said she's okay, nothing crazy. If it's a bad field, she could probably win, but they're not super confident about her, so not super worried about that horse. The 5 is an unknown. I don't know anything about the 5, but again, going back to that key race, I just think watching it back, no one else really had any excuses, especially Duchess Eleanor. I mean, that horse had every opportunity to go by the 2 in that spot, and she just didn't. So I'm going to be ice cold at 2 in here. Hope she takes a step forward, 3rd career start, and can get the job done at a bit of a price.
Yeah, no doubt. I ended up going against the 2 runners in there, and the 2 and the 3. I'm opting for a bit of a different direction. Jason, how did you see this race? As we mentioned, we have a good handful of common runners coming out of the same event.
Yeah, what's funny is that common race, the 2 horses that broke really bad are the ones that ran 1-2. The winner broke real bad, like Permian Basin did. And I agree with one part of what Jackson said, and I disagree with one part. That run Permian Basin, it was like, I mean, he started sending the horse at like the 4.5, 5 furlong marker to get up into it, and just kind of kept staying on. I actually thought Duchess Eleanor had a couple little sneaky issues in that race. They were kind of tapping the brakes a few times going down the backstretch, and then the fact that the 5 or the 5 was the winner of that last race, and then Permian Basin, they kind of got the jump, and she did kind of run on a little bit at the end there. So I thought there were reasons to be forgiving on that. But that being said, everybody's going to glom on to the fact that it's Bennett and Marin and all that. So like, I think the odds maker has it right. Our morning line maker, Mark's pretty good and pretty observant about things. So I think he might be right in terms of that one. The other 3, I didn't see anything to get too fired up about coming out of that race. Endless Glory and My Angel Marie kind of broke well and then just kind of steadily went back. I did want to mention the first time starter for Kathleen O'Connell, the 5 horse. I love that you brought up Will Humphrey. Will's my buddy. He used to come here at Tampa and work in the wintertime. He's awesome. But so Kathleen O'Connell is in the freezer right now. I mean, I have never seen this barn this cold here. She's our defending training champ and has won more races, I think, than any female trainer ever. And they are just not firing right now. But that said, and by the way, she was the one who had the equine herpes outbreak. So she hadn't been able to run in a couple of weeks. And the barn's now just coming back. But DeBella Racing is one of her big owners here, and they don't usually spend like $150,000 at the sales, at least that I remember. So I'm wondering if this was kind of their their big horse maybe for this season. So I am a little bit intrigued by this one, and I feel like this would be a decent way for her to maybe get out of the freezer, because it has been cold in the KO part. There's a few barns. Jan Arnett, who I think had maybe the one in this race, or it was the one in the last race, is another one who usually is pretty dependable here and is 0 for the meat so far.
And Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but they also can't train, right? If they have the outbreak, not only can they not race.
I forget. No, I don't. Honestly, I don't know, so I shouldn't say either way. I forget what the exact rules are. They quarantine the barns. I think they allow special training for the barns at different times. I believe that's how it works. But boy, don't quote. I get back to the backstretch about twice a year, so I'm nobody to talk to. They keep me upstairs.
To stay on that point about KOC, it does appear that this runner maybe missed a work in between there.
Yeah, I saw there was a 2-week break there. So but I do, like I said, I thought they were, because I know they amended training hours for everybody, and so I wasn't sure. I've heard places in the past that's kind of what they do, is they let them go out. But like I said, I truly don't know. I'm guessing, so I shouldn't speculate.
It's all good. This is one for the first-time starter that I wanted to include in there. For my Angel Marie, she did break well last time out. It is interesting to me that Sammy Camacho takes the mountain here. But again, second-time starter. I know it's from the rail, but came out of that race to fire a bullet work about 7 days later, and then a nice little maintenance drill, it looks like, on the 24th, and comes in here a week off that work. Second time starting now for another cold barn, as you mentioned, Jason, in Jan Arnett. And I just think that second-time starter can certainly improve off that effort. 7 furlongs, maybe a little bit more foundation. I don't love how she kind of gave it up going down the lane last time, but I'm kind of against Permian Basin and Duchess Eleanor, just because all of the running was done, or rather, the pace completely collapsed in that race, and none of the pace setters were anywhere close.
Yeah, I think the horse that beat him was a first timer for Glen Hill Farm, and pretty well bred type, Lightscape, I think it was, but. Like you said, I mean, that Lightscape broke terrible that day and still kind of overcame it and won with ease. So I can certainly listen to the argument that maybe that was not the toughest cast. Yeah,
maybe not. But then again, maybe the 2 and the 3 are just better animals than this. But I'm going to take a shot with many against them. The 4 Jen D'Oro, I feel like maybe second off the bench, can get to the front and maybe be alone on the lead this time. Kind of did a lot of the dirty work up inside of runners last time, and just kind of threw in the towel as they turned for home. Rider kind of wrapped up. The 7 WinBet only, kind of the fresh face in here, has faced a lot better. Faced Mythical last time in her 2-turn debut, where she kind of just destroyed a lot of the rest of that field. And Dare Greatly, who finished second, was a mile clear of the rest. But I think sprinting's more of her game, and she has a similar run style where she can be maybe a little bit closer to the pace. And I like the foundation and the finish she should have with her. And I did throw the 8 responsibly in there. Just another first-time starter in a race that I don't think is the strongest. So I'll go 5 deep, tossing the two favorites in there. And Jackson is going to single the 2 in Permian Basin, as we will keep things moving onto the third leg. Unless, Jason, you have any of the other runners that you want to speak about? Cool.
No, that was it.
All right, we'll go to race number 3, or the third leg of this pick 5. Race number 7, mile for the 2-year-olds once again on the lawn, maiden special weight. Jackson is going with the 369. I assume not after the Little John lyrics. And I will be singling the 1 in here. We'll start with this. We're coming out of the chute once again. Jackson, go ahead.
Real quick, I just want to ask Jason, because Jason, I love your podcast, by the way.
I appreciate it.
Great job. Is this I listened to the Miguel Clement one.
This is the horse.
Okay.
This is the horse. Yeah.
I'm like, this has to be the same horse that you're talking about.
Yeah. So what he's referencing, I had Miguel Clement on probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and this was it was a tough trip. If you had this horse, I mean, you could see what the odds were, and the horse was just cruising back and forth. It wasn't a big field either. I want to say it was like 7 horses, and just got stone cold stopped by a 30-1 that was fading on the lead, and he kind of got boxed in. Both Lesotho Promise and the winner got, by my guess, 5-length jumps at the quarter pole, and Brooklyn Styles was able to reel in Lesotho Promise, but not the eventual winner, who just it was pretty tough to overcome. But I asked Miguel, like I said, as a trainer, I said, that's got to be frustrating. He goes, yeah, I'm glad you asked that. It was really frustrating. And so, and he speaks with just such a measured thing. But he said, he goes, Sammy came over and he said, look, it was my fault, and he was understanding, like, look, trips happen. And it happened for trying to save ground, which Miguel said, that's very important to him and stuff. Sammy isn't back though, so I did think whether, and by the way, that might be the owner's call, it might be Miguel's call, it might be the agent's call, because like I said, they have the same agent, but it was a pretty nice piece of acceleration, I thought, from the 3/16 home. This horse is easily going to be the single of the sequence for a majority, I think. I think most tickets will build around this horse being the single. I don't think there's much from the first-time starters in this field, and the fact that Lesotho Promise was a little wide, but Brooklyn Style still reeled that one in, even though Lesotho Promise got that big jump. I just think most people are going to plant their flag here with the 3.
I agree. I do think a lot of people are going to plant with Brooklyn Styles. I'm going to try and be, a little bit of the, pick the other one, and I'll take the Rail Runner again. That last time showed a huge improvement from start 1 to start 2. Obviously, first time had some difficulties there, but I know got reeled in by the favorite in Brooklyn Styles, but you'll still get a decent price on Lesotho Promise. And I think if I can get that one home, I'll knock out a lot of people who do lean on the number 3 Brooklyn Styles. But Jackson, you're going to be leaning on this
tables on the 3.
That's a great question.
You got a
That's a great question.
He's
gonna have to step up considerably. But this is kind of one of those favorites that I know last time he certainly had some excuses, but he's kind of racking up the seconds and thirds, and maybe doesn't show that true winning ability. But I mean, he's still young. That was his first time going around 2 turns. He could very well step up and blow the doors off this field. I'll just try and get a little bit creative and go with that second choice in this field. I'm with you, though, Jason. I didn't see a whole lot from the first-time starters. Jackson, you are also going to use the number 6 and the number 9. We'll get to the 9 Undertaker in just a bit. But first, talk about the number 6, another horse you're including on your tickets.
Yeah, and full disclosure, this 3 is way the horse to beat. And if I'm playing the Tampa card, which I will, I'm going to have the 2 in the race before is my huge opinion. I'm going to have a huge double with the 2 into the 3. So I can feel free to add a couple horses in this pick 5. It's more of a backup than the kill shot bet. So as far as using other horses in here, I do like the 6. The debut was fine. I mean, this horse is probably bred to go 2 turns. She didn't break great, and then kind of just, took her time, and finished evenly, passed a few horses. Galloped out really well, though. She galloped out almost in front of, I believe, everybody but the winner. She tells me she does want to go 2 turns. I think the grass should be okay. I believe the second dam was a Breeders' Cup Distaff winner, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. I think it was a Shadow who won at Lone Star, which I remember because I played the Breeders' Cup video game that was there once upon a time. So I remember watching the replays on that all the time. So wanted to mention that there. I think 2 turns will be okay for this horse. Want to use her at a bit of a price. And then the 9 Undertaker. Of the horses that I've run, not many of them, actually none of them, have shown any speed. This colt has been quick before, but he's never made the front in his life on his own. I think today could be the day. And I think sometimes at Tampa, when horses get loose, no matter what their price is, they can be very difficult to pass. And it's not like he has to get that much faster to beat this field. I think both of his turf trips earlier in his career weren't great. So I think there are reasons to believe he can get better on the grass. And as I said, if he gets loose, he could be dangerous in here. So going to use the 3, 6, 9 in the pick 5, but the 3 is way the horse to beat. And I will have other bets centered around just the 3.
I like it. I gave the 9.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff. What was the buyer for the 3 in that last race? I used Briz. I forgot to peek at it
67.
And was that higher than the previous race?
Yeah. Previous race he got a 64.
Yeah, Briz had it as a small improvement as well, and I was like, really? Even though he got stone cold stopped for half the turn.
I mean, she got stopped twice.
It was tough, yeah. And it was immediately as the other 2 were commencing their bids. Now, albeit they were wide and maybe lose a little bit of ground, but they were going 2 to her or his 1 for a few steps there.
They were. But Jackson, one more. I did give the 9 Undertaker a close look. Thought about including that one in there. Opted to not. But yeah, if Undertaker can get to the front, he can certainly put him away. I like that the blinkers go back on. Very cold barn, winless on the year, but hey, no better time to get your first win than the last day of the year. So maybe tomorrow is going to be the day for Undertaker and for the Ben Ramos barn, because again, this horse could get brave up on the front end. And those 2 starts to begin the career weren't all that awful.
They both came on wide stalking trips on the grass, which, I mean, that's just the worst possible trip you can have. And I think there's reasons to believe he can run better with a better trip.
I don't doubt that at all. We'll move on to race number 8, 6 furlong event, again for the 2-year-olds. Maiden $25,000 claimers on the main track. I am singling the 12. Jackson's going with the 2, 4, 12. Jason, how'd you see this race shaping up? We have another couple first-time starters in here and a pretty wide open race top to bottom.
Yeah, I think the Juan Carlos Avila will be the first timer that gets the most attention just because he's been red hot to start the meet. He was our trainer of the month the other day. And so I would assume that will be the one that gets the most attention of the debut runners. I liked the two. I was glad to see that one of you guys kind of like the 2-horse. David Van Winkle, I think, is kind of a sneaky barn. He's got 1 for 14, which but he's got 4 seconds, and his, I remember he had that graded stakes win on Parks on their big day. I think it was in the Gallop Bob Stakes or something like that. But a barn that can train and win. And this horse ran against way better last time out. And so this is a pretty steep drop. And I thought actually showed a modicum of speed. They went 21 and change, which isn't the norm at Tampa. So the fact he was only a couple lengths off that, I wouldn't be surprised if this horse, with a good break, can maybe be a big factor in here. And this was the race I hated the most in the sequence in terms of just no strong opinions. And there just seemed like a lot of danger spots. And I hate the idea of going 5 or 6 deep in a race that you hate. To me, the defensive spread is but sometimes, you got to do it. And obviously the carryover helps with that because, you can kind of get away with fudging your ticket a little bit more because there's just no takeout or likely to be none. Once everything's kind of said and done. So yeah, I was kind of all over the place here. The 2 was my, I suppose, strongest opinion, but I thought the 6, 7, and 8 were all very logical. The 12, I guess, was a little bit of the question mark because I feel like this horse is going to really air or get beat, which I guess is every horse there is going to win or lose. But I thought on paper, this horse could end up winning by a big margin just off the drop. And the Campbells I know Joel Campbell's having a bad meet so far, but the Campbells, Michael and Joel, they're both pretty good trainers, and Sammy ends up here too, which is always of note.
It is. And yeah, I ended up with the 12 as my single. Jackson, I'll give you a chance to talk about the 2, the 4, and add some notes here on Union Kate. But I felt like any of those dirt efforts, really, I know they don't look great against the maiden special weight, but this is a big drop down in maiden 25. And speed figure wise, those numbers should all win, especially if this one runs back to the debut. Jason mentioned I don't like the defensive spread in races where I don't really have much of an idea. This horse makes a lot of sense. Dropping down maiden special weight to maiden claiming on some decently strong efforts for what it would take to win this race. And, kind of just the most logical. So I'll take this one. I'll move on. I'll just try and single and keep things moving. Any notes on the 12? And then, please take the conversation to the 2 and the 4.
No, nothing to add on the 12. He seems pretty logical in here. Don't love him, but seems logical. As far as the 2 goes, I saw what Jason saw. I don't think all 13 length losses are created equal, and I didn't think it was that bad. It came against way better. He was 82-1 in there, and he did show a good amount of speed. And it wasn't like he finished with the track. I mean, he was still trying hard, I think, all the way to the wire. It was really that last half furlong where he kind of hit a wall. And that was his first career start. And now he's dropping in class. He finds himself against a field that really doesn't have much speed. I mean, look into the horses that I've run before. None of them are particularly quick. He breaks on top today or tomorrow. He could be really tough in there at a price. I feel like he's a must-use in here. I agree. He would be my top pick. I would also use a 4, though. They call me Sue, is a horse that did show speed on debut on the synthetic, but it didn't show as much speed second time out, but I thought he closed nicely into a pace that wasn't particularly fast. I don't know how good that field was, but it was going 5.5. It closed well, and I just think he's a little interesting as another mid-price in this spot. These races are difficult, though, because with Tampa Bay Downs, you don't have workout videos. I don't think there's a workout report. So a lot of the firsters are complete unknowns. You kind of have to guess a little bit.
I'm with you. Not a whole lot to go off of for workouts for first-time starters. But for the number 4, they call me Sue. I had this one kind of as the next one that I would have added in if I wasn't just going to single at 12. I do like the improvement from start 1 to start 2, as you noted. Kind of had 2 different run styles in those 2 races, and closed well going 5.5. So I think a step up could certainly be in the cards, and is the pretty hot barn. Going, what is that, 7 for 11 in the money with three of those being winners. So that's a good way to start the Tampa Bay meet. So maybe this is one of those horses that's just going right, and one I might have to give a stronger look to.
Yeah. Real quick, I have a question for Jason. As far as post position goes in these one turn races, do you want to be outside typically in these larger fields, or do you want to be inside, or does it not?
I don't think it matters all that much. I'm probably not the person to ask that, just because as weird as it sounds, and I've told people this before, like as a race caller, like I'm not doing a ton of handicapping. Like sure. I'm doing more research for names and kind of interesting things to say and all that, and certainly follow trends. But what's hard about handicap for me is like the minute a race is over, I got to purge it and then move on to the next one. So that's why when we went back and started talking about these races, when you talked about the Brooklyn, I was same thing. I was like, oh, is this the horse that we were talking about? So sometimes my memory is very good short term and not as much long term. But no, I think that there's certainly something. We see a lot of horses drawn outside that can carry it 4 or 5 wide. To me, Tampa, the key is making your move by the top of the stretch. We don't see a lot of, big late reel them in the last 16th of a mile. You can close from off the pace, but usually you got to be in the hunt, turn it for home. That just is always kind of seemed to be the default on dirt, but I don't know that that's not the default dirt everywhere. So I don't know that it's anything special for us. Like I said, the other thing that's going to be interesting is the weather, because we have seen the turf course went into a little bit of a speed bias a couple of weeks ago. So we've seen little bursts of bias, and which to me is fine. Like I'm okay when tracks, kind of come in and out of biases real quick. It's when they're long and prevailing. I'm like, well, fix it. But like sometimes weather or, they sometimes just mow the lawn, and it might be a little different, but I believe the rails were at 12 the other day. I think they moved them from Friday to Saturday, if I remember right, because they were down at 0. And usually what they'll do for Colonial does this too. They'll have the rails out a little bit before big days and then bring them down so it's fresh ground. And then sometimes those inside paths become the best spot to be. But I'm pretty sure we ran at 12 the other day. If not, it's been at 0. So it's not a huge difference.
Yeah, Jason, you mentioned the kind of run style that you want on the dirt is to, have that lead at the top of the stretch, and that's kind of where you need to make your move. Jackson, you and I are all too familiar with that, with Del Mar being our main track. That is exactly how you have to ride out at Del Mar, so that's something that we, are in tune and always looking for. Because, some of those stretches that get a little longer, Los Alamitos, you can wait half a mile down that stretch. Fairgrounds, you got probably 3 miles to work with. It seems that stretch goes on forever. So, you don't have to make that move at the top of the stretch. But place like Tampa, places like Del Mar, you got to make that move, really turning for home, and that's where the running gets done. So that's great insight. Thank you, Jason. Anybody else we should talk about before we move on to the finale here?
I'm good.
What did we mention Giggity at all? The 6 horse, just because, like I said, Marin lands there, and another one who kind of showed some speed and was just, I thought, okay. I just feel like this, to me, I call these like default horses. Like you just kind of end up on them because they've ran okay and they kind of fit the level. But usually there's somebody dropping or a firster or somebody that you want to be more intrigued by to knock that one out. Like I said, I think the Juan Carlos Avila horse is the 7 Peppa Pete is going to take some action strictly based on the trainer. I mean, he's just sizzling to start this meet. The rider is not, by the way. So that's kind of an interesting aside.
It is. Last one, actually, I want to talk about is the other Juan Avila trainee, the one that has to get a little help to draw in. Yeah. And that's Sabate. Expensive price for the $150,000 bought in the Keeneland September sale of 24. But obviously justifies sire fee or stud fee is $250K. So $100K less or $100K more than what they paid for this runner. Do you view this as a red flag, either of you, that debuting for 25?
Well, it depends if he might not even, it depends on if he scratched at 10 o'clock a.m., I guess. I mean, it should be a red flag, right? But we've seen, even with that Wesley Ward horse, there's barns that aren't afraid to drop one in and, maybe try to steal it and not get claimed. 25 is a reasonably steep claiming price here at Tampa. We see some claims for 25 and up, but not a lot. I feel like we get a lot of 8s and 10s and 12 5s and 15s and 16s and stuff like that. We see plenty of claims of those, but we don't have a ton of 25 claims here. So maybe it's just a spot where they can try to jump in and steal one. But and the horse has been here for quite a while too. That's the other thing. Yeah,
horse has been here. Jackson, any thoughts on this one?
I would be scared away by the purchase price compared to the claiming tag, and I don't know, he's fine. He can win. Won't be surprised.
Because Lugano, they have some decent horses too, right? I mean,
they do.
Yeah.
The only way I was thinking that I would add this horse in is if the other Juan Avila that is in the body of the field managed to scratch tomorrow and let this one dry, and maybe I'd give this one a little bit of a closer look.
Why run 2 when 1 will do?
Exactly. So that's it. We'll move on to the finale. wrapping up race number 8, and we'll finish off with race number 9, mile and a 16th turf event for the 3-year-olds and upwards. I think first race in the sequence where it hasn't been for the babies or for the soon-to-be 3-year-olds. 16,000 non-2 winners lifetime. I am going 1-7-11, and Jackson is singling the 12. So we're a little bit different again. Jason, I'll start the conversation with you. How did you see this race shaping up? Again, a couple common races that a lot of these are coming out of.
Yeah, this to me is I always describe the 16 non-2 as the Colonial closer, because it seems like every day at Colonial that's our final race of the day. But it's kind of a Tampa closer too, and obviously there's circuits that overlap a fair bit. I'm with you on the 11. Scooter Davis is a trainer I've kind of gotten familiar with the last couple of years and wins a ton of races. And this is a horse going first time to his barn, which from his last 47 starts, it looks like 34% of them won when it was their first time with his barn. And he's positive ROI in almost every angle on my page. Adds Lasix, adds blinkers, but most importantly to me, I think gets back to it's on turf, but the synthetic races at Presque Isle were all pretty decent, especially maybe the longer ones. And so all that kind of coupled together, he obviously hasn't had the horse that long. I mean, there's only the one work showing from a few weeks ago. So, but I mean, this is for me a pure trainer play. I've just seen enough horses get into his barn and jump up that if the price is there, because I thought the 1 made a lot of sense down on the fence too. So those were the only 2 I would probably use here.
Yeah, I'm with you. The 11 and the 1, the 1 probably being my top pick in here, but I want to give a closer look to the 11. That 2-turn race at Presque Isle in late spring definitely stands out. And then obviously had some better numbers when you go back to the 2-year-old season for this colt, but that number from earlier this spring certainly fits in here. And again, you mentioned the intention just seems like it's there, getting Lasix, going onto the grass. And for a race,
a lot of changes, adding blinkers too.
A lot of changes. The old, the kitchen sink angle, first time for a tag as well. But something I look for in these restricted claiming races is horses that broke their maiden at the maiden special weight level, because those fields are just tougher than maiden claim pretty much, regardless of the circuit you're on. And Presque Isle can always get some salty horses up there.
Yeah.
So that's something I put a good bit of weight into. So I wanted to include the 11. Jackson, I'll turn the conversation to you to talk about the number 12, Sky Masterson, your single to end the day.
Yeah, tough race. I was, watched all the replays, and I was trying to decide between the 1 and the 12 about who I wanted to key around. The 1, we're going to talk about the 1s. I'll just talk about the 12. I just thought he ran the best race last time, and I think there was 6 horses coming out of the same race. He had a really tough post that day. Was wide first turn, had to move up during the turn to go press the issue just so he wouldn't be 3 or 4 wide, and got the best of the pace runners and just got a little tired late. And I thought it was a perfectly fine effort that day. Arguably ran the best out of everyone that's returning. The issue is you got the 12 post again, so he's going to have to find a way to overcome that. But I do think the price will be there. I don't think he's going to be favored here for these connections that are a little chilly to start the meet, as is the rider. So a little value in here. And I just think if he runs his race, he's going to be fourthly placed. He's got every shot to win this thing.
Yeah, he's going to be forward. You just hope he's able to, maybe save a little bit of ground from drawn so wide. But it was kind of between the 1 and the 12 for which one of those 2 runners. I don't want to add them both in. I did think Traxter's probably going to benefit from the best trip in here. Seems to have that right kind of tactical pace style. He's shown some ability to pass some horses, but he's not super exposed. He doesn't have those double-digit starts and racks up those seconds and thirds, and that's something I like to see. This is technically his lowest level he's ever been at, only by about $1,500, but he should sit the trip. You get Samuel Marin on board, saving ground the entire way. Just hope he doesn't run into any trouble, because any amount of adversity that a horse at this level faces, they might just throw in the towel, similar to last time.
Let me ask you what happened last time, because I went back and watched it, and he was really bad.
Yeah,
he didn't really have an excuse either.
Yeah, I don't have an excuse. He had 3 decent races put together at, again, similar level in those previous 3. I have no idea what happened last time. Maybe he didn't love Tampa's grass first time out. That's a possibility for sure. Because he sat his exact kind of trip. Maybe the pace was just a little bit too hot and he was uncomfortable. I mean, they went sufficiently faster than he's ever gone before, and he was, he was relatively close to that pace, going 22 flat and 45 and 3. So maybe that's why. Again, I'm not trying to make too many excuses for him. I'm hoping 7-2 is the price I'll get. Anything lower than that, and I'd be a little hesitant, but I do want to include him in those horizontals.
One thing worth mentioning too in this one is with the mile and 16th, they're letting it go out to 12. A lot of times, even for those races, we'll cap it at 10. I would guess once we go to 4 days a week, that might actually start up again, just in the interest of kind of keeping the field size full for races going forward. But it's obviously you do have more time till you get into the bend, but it ain't that much more time. It's another It's another 6 seconds, and so the added horses I think can really kind of maybe play some havoc. But again, it's one of those things where you can't necessarily depend that it's going to cause havoc to the inside or the outside or whoever. It really just depends on who goes and how they cross over. And to some degree, what the main thing I think that can be affected is who are the riders, just because there's some riders that are more aggressive. And like I said earlier, with Sammy on Distinct in that first race, like Sammy's going to get his position and he's going to, he had a lot of suspensions last year, and that's because he rides aggressive. And, so he's one that's not afraid to kind of try to get to his spot. And so, there can be some chaos going into that bend for the first time, and a lot of races won and lost there for sure. But I don't know, as a race caller, I love those races just because it's fun. They're running straight at you for a little while. So it's kind of a neat little, it's just a neat viewing experience, I guess.
It is. And I'm sure you get a good view on the break and how horses kind of settle themselves out. Last one I'll wrap us up with is going to be the number 7, Tony B. Huge long shot here. I want to include this one in the horizontals just to maybe blow things up in a huge way. I thought the debut over this Tampa grass was very respectable. Obviously, last time out, again, it's very similar to the Rail Runner and Trackstar or Trackster. Just kind of threw in the towel turning for home and was in a very similar spot. Again, not too sure why that is. I'm going to chalk it up to that was the first race off a layoff since the summer. Maybe comes back, has built upon that effort, because I do think the first 2 starts to begin the career weren't bad. Certainly something to grow off of. And this is one, again, that I think is going to be sitting, towards maybe the middle rear of the pack and should just try and come with that late run. And maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 horses go a little too fast on the front end, and this thing really falls apart. I do think Tony B can build on that. They thought enough off the maiden Ren to throw this one into a very tough optional claiming event at Gulfstream Park in the middle of summer. So I love that confidence. Now back in, I think, at a much more reasonable spot.
Yeah, the Chicago Theater came back and ran 2nd or 3rd the other day to a nice Chad Brown Klarovich horse, that Risk Tolerance. And so that the horse, that Chicago Theater is pretty nice. I think, obviously it's horse beaten by 17, so it wasn't like he was up there with him. But no, I think this is an interesting horse. Daniel Damon, the trainer, is a name that pops up, just a real small barn. I think I can't remember if I think he's ran twice this meet, but he had one the other day that was coming like off a 3-year layoff or something. So it's like, I'm not going to hold that against him for one of his off the boards. It was kind of an odd spot. I think it was an old Sweezy horse or something like that. Yeah,
can't hold them against him for those small barns. They deserve a shot as well. Jason, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, anytime
for this show to preview the late pick 5. You've after you had me on your podcast, I texted Jackson. I was like, we got to get Jason on the show, and this was the perfect reason for it. We don't even have to wait till Tampa Bay Derby Day, although we'd love to have you back for that day.
That's a bad week to ask, but we'll much less busy this week.
I figured as much, but yeah, this week, love to have you on. $63,000 carryover in the late pick 5 at Tampa Bay Downs. I mentioned 52 runners in that sequence, so very competitive. Plenty of prices, plenty of horses to choose from. We'll wrap up with this. Just a horse that you could lean on in this sequence. Is it going to be the number 3 Brooklyn Styles for you in that maiden race, or possibly one of the other legs?
For me, he's the single easy. I mean, as much as I hate to give you 1 to 5, I don't think he's going to be anywhere near 6 to 5. How about that? I think he's going to be 3 to 5. But I mean, sad but true.
Yeah, Jackson, I know that's going to be your lean as well, most likely, just with in horizontals anyway.
No,
Permian Basin, right?
Permian Basin.
There we go.
Yeah.
If Permian Basin is your single, you'll get some separation in that leg, because I think a lot of people are going to spread out in that leg for sure.
I think so too. I'm gonna go against Brooklyn Styles. I'll lean pretty heavy on Lesotho's Promise for the Graham Motion Barn second time.
Do you know what Lesotho is, or where Lesotho is? It's like I had to look it up because I had to look up. I believe it's a landlocked country in Africa. Like, I think it's that little circle like in the middle of South Africa. You might want to fact check me on that. One of the great fun parts of this job is that you have to kind of learn a lot of that kind of stuff. And you'll get names that are just random, and sometimes they're just completely random. There's one of those firsters, that Sammy de Triamo. It's like, I need to call the owners and ask how the hell to say that, because sometimes it's somebody's name or whatever. But I thought I was going to say Lesotho, and I go, I better just check this, and it's Lesotho.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I will look up more about the.
This is the kind of stuff I have to research before the race. I'm not looking at pace analysis. I'm looking at names.
Yeah, you do a different kind of handicapping for your races, but you do an excellent job calling them. We love hearing your voice down there. Good luck tomorrow and the rest of this week to anybody playing the late pick 5 at Tampa, or the early pick 5 out there as well, as they also have a good sequence. So we didn't dive too much into that, but. For my co-host Jackson Muniz and our special guest Jason Beem, I'm Ryan Anderson. Thanks for watching the Gallop Out. Happy New Year, everybody. We will see you guys in 2026.